Hello and welcome to a very special episode. This isn't something that I normally do on this channel. Usually you see FPV music videos or exposés of cool places that I have been. Hopefully some content that I have made this year will be up there shortly, but my name is Jared Young, or as some of you know me, Rue FPV, or JY Media, if you're on my website, and today I'm going to talk about what is FPV? What is this technology? How does it work? Why do I love it? And what I think the potential for it could be in the future if properly implemented. So stick around as I walk you through each individual piece, how it all works, how it connects together, what I like to do with it, potentially give you guys some inspiration or maybe even get you into the hobby. Alright, so the first order of business. What does FPV stand for? Well, first person view. What does that mean? Well, inside of a drone like this, we have two systems really in one. We have a wireless camera transmission system, as well as a remote control aircraft. So first person view implies the idea that we are in the cockpit of the machines. If you look on the front here, you will see a camera. It is connected to a transmitter and a video antenna to send that signal through the air with magic to goggles that we wear on our face. Now you're wondering, what do these goggles look like, Rue? Well, let me show you. Turn my hat around. Just like that, there they are. So, these goggles have two screens on the inside, one for each eye, and these antennas on the goggles receive the video transmission that is being transmitted via these video transmission systems, either through an antenna on the back here, an antenna on the wing like that, or through something a little more compact if you're going to race and you're going to go fast and you're careful and you want to not break things. So, we have all different kinds of platforms, from high velocity race quads to park flying freestyles that just can take a beating. As you can see, this one is quite dirty, to a system designed to fly around people or indoors. It's got little bumpers like that, so if you hit a person, it bumps off. If you hit an obstacle, boop, it bumps off. No problem. But my personal favorite is the long range quad. When I see a mountain while I'm driving down the road, I'll tell you what, ever since I got into this hobby, the first thought in my mind is, I wonder what this would look like from a quad, diving down the ridge at 80 miles an hour. I'm sure plenty of you have seen reels on Instagram and YouTube exposing how amazing the footage is that we can get from these aircraft, and I'm sure that you are wondering, well, what does it take to be able to go so far? That's where the receiver transmission system comes in. It is the control link between the radio that our fingers use to communicate with the drone to the receiving antennas on the drone itself. I'm using this one because it's got two, and it's a very good example. We've got a tall vertical one here, so you have orientation when you're flying flat, as well as one mounted horizontally on the side, so that if we're diving down a hill or banking at far distances, this antenna's dead zone that's out the top and out the bottom, if it's pointing away from us or towards us, we won't lose signal. It'll just switch over to the other antenna and pick up right where it left off. Similarly, on my aircraft here, you can see we have a vertical antenna here, as well as a horizontal one mounted inside of the body. Now this aircraft is designed to go 400 millifeet at the maximum height, and as far as the battery will last it in one particular distance. So how do I enjoy this technology? From a content creation standpoint, to hobby model enthusiast, to an aircraft fabrication service, I suppose. Well, for me personally, it allows me to fly like a bird. It allows me to remove my perception of the reality from this 2.5 meter tall camera platform that we're given as human beings. These aircraft allow for unparalleled athletic capabilities that the human body just really can't accomplish. So I guess if I was going to give a quick overview about what this technology does and how it works, in comparison to an aircraft where you have your bank, pitch, and yaw with your ailerons, elevon, and rudder, with a quadcopter, you only have 4 propellers. Of course, it's very intuitive to understand how it takes off and keep itself level. It just changes the throttle levels of each prop to keep it nice and level. Now, here's where the trick comes in. With technology like this, there is no auto hover. There is no object avoidance. There is no return to home, unless you build it that way. We'll get into that in a minute. But in essence, it's like flying a 5-speed car in the sky, a Formula One vehicle, if you will. It's only up to you. You have to decide how much throttle to give, how much bank to give, pitch, yaw. It is entirely up to the pilot's skill to determine if you crash or if you don't. Now, why is it not intuitive to fly a drone, you may ask? In addition to throttle and altitude management with your individual finger movement, you also have to understand how to turn. Now, turning with an aircraft is fairly straightforward if you're a newbie. You just bank the aircraft and you wait for the tail to naturally rotate around. You can throw in some rudder, but for the most part with an airplane, all you have to do is bank and it will slowly turn itself. With a drone, it's not quite the case. If I were to bank with the drone and continue flying forward, all it would do would be to list to one side. If I'm flying forward like this and I bank right, I'm just going to keep going right. On the other hand, if I'm flying along and I add a little bit of spin to it, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep flying sideways like this. So I tell people it's like flying a rowboat. You have to add both bank and yaw into the mix if you want to get around an obstacle. So it's really a form of sky ballet, open air interpretive dance, however you're willing to interpret it. Now you're probably wondering, well, how much does all of this cost? How much am I realistically going to spend out of pocket to get flying and get going reliably without having to worry about crashing and breaking stuff and having to buy new things? Well, if it was 6 years ago, I would tell you at least $1,000, because unfortunately back then we didn't have things like simulators, video games, to where your understanding of how the aircraft operates can be built, and that muscle memory can go unpunished, because if you crash in a video game, you just hit the reset button and you're all good to go. No worries, no walk of shame to go pick it up, no spending 3 hours looking out in a big old open field wondering where you crashed because you forgot to turn on the beeper switch and the battery unplugged on the way down, and so now you don't even have video feed to worry on, you don't even have RSSI link, now it's getting dark and you're wondering where it is, and you go home and you cry yourself to sleep because it's just out there in the wilderness and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, lucky for you, this is the future. We have technology. And for the low price of a radio and a simulator and a cable to connect the two, you too can learn how to fly a drone and learn the muscle movements of throttle, roll, pitch, and yaw before you go and buy a 5-inch drone or something a little bit smaller. There are all varieties, from tiny whips the size of your palm to park flyers maybe a little bit bigger to some other people who have built full-on 10-inch high performance 0 to 250 miles an hour in a snap machines. So realistically, nowadays, you're gonna spend about 80 bucks on a radio, maybe $15, $20 on a simulator. If you have a relatively okay computer, then you're good there. Maybe look into seeing if you have the specs compatible for it. But for the most part, you're not gonna be spending the pretty penny of going and flying a 5-inch drone with 12 batteries fully charged, only to crash on your second pack 2 minutes in and break an arm and a bell and a whole bunch of other things and have to go home and discharge your batteries and be done for the day and figure out what's broke, get over the motivation hump of getting yourself to start the repairs and doing the soldering and learning all that. Man, what a headache it used to be. But those who are getting into the hobby nowadays, it's very simple. Now, what would I recommend after you understand how the radio and the simulator work? Well, some people out there say to go and buy a pre-built 5-inch drone just so you can get up in the air, or something like a tiny whoop, I suppose. My personal advice, build a 5-inch drone from the ground up. Learn how all of the pieces work together so that when you go and fly, if you in the future decide to buy pre-built drones that you can just buy and insert your radio as soon as you open the box from the mail and fly that afternoon, when you crash it and you break stuff, you'll know what's broken, how to fix it, how to affordably replace it, and how to be the mechanic and the pilot in one. Now these machines are very, very high powered. This ain't your grandpa's rodeo. This here is not much of a toy. They have 1,000 kV motors spinning at thousands of revolutions per minute using high voltage discharged lithium polymer batteries. Both the airplane and the drone need a high amount of electricity discharged very quickly to be able to do the things that they do. So the power system that is typically used in this hobby is something called a LiPo battery, a lithium polymer chemical battery. The way that it works is you have one chemical on one side of the battery cell, a catalyst level in the middle, and a different type of chemical on the other side. When you add voltage to charge the battery, that catalyst converts that one substance into the other, and the catalyst barrier moves to the edge. When you're discharging, it works in the opposite direction. That catalyst is automatically allowed to convert the first material back into the second material. These batteries, however, are not like your cell phone or like your MP3 player. When they're dead, they're dead. So you have to be careful and you have to manage the voltage. You have to pay attention to how much voltage you have and how quickly that voltage is discharging, because if you're not careful, you can accidentally discharge your battery and it will explode. I'm not kidding. fireballs if you're not careful. So it's important to understand the risks of what it takes to be able to fly these machines. But if you're careful and you take care of your gear and you manage and understand how it all works together, it is about the most fun that you can have. So yeah, hopefully this video answered you guys' questions. If you have any other comments or things that you think I missed, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Hit the like and subscribe button so that you know where my content's coming from and you never miss it. The notification bell will keep you in the loop. As well as if you're watching on my website, feel free to keep checking back for new content. Hopefully these projects, with what I'm doing with my airplane and other future endeavors with these quadcopter machines, can be documented and you can enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Jared Young, Rue FPV, JY Media, however you choose to describe this body, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Enjoy your day. Thank you so much for watching.